Hopefully that little bastard stays on there. Hopefully no other bugs crawl in my ear. I mean, what the fuck? What kind of fucked up ride is this? I just want to tell people my thoughts on getting their first motorcycle. Jeez. Okay. I don't think that GoPro's going anywhere. I'm gonna keep checking on it because it's a fucking $200 camera, and I don't want it bouncing down the street. Not that I think it'll be horribly damaged. I just don't want to lose it. I just don't want to like look down there one time and be like, well, there went my fucking GoPro and I don't know where it went. But anyway, I'm glad you're joining the family of motorcyclists, no matter what you pick. But what are my thoughts on what should you get for your first bike? What should you be taking into consideration, so to speak? Well, there's lots of different things to think about when you're looking at motorcycles. You know, what size engine do I want to get? What brand? Is there things I should stay away from? There's all kind of stuff. I'm not going to go over all of that stuff because we'd be here for a long time and I don't even like myself that much. But what you should be thinking about is, A, what am I going to do with the bike? How am I going to use it? B, what type of motorcycle should I get? Well, we'll define that as what size should I get. I would say you don't go anything over 600 cc's, definitely, for your first bike. And then C, lastly, should I buy it new or used? So we'll talk a little bit about all of that stuff. So let's start with thinking about what you're going to use the bike for, because just like cars, there's lots of different types of bikes, and they all do stuff better than other things. 125, great starter bike, awesome starter bike if you're in the city. If you're going less than 50 miles an hour most of the time. Can you go 60 miles an hour on it? Sure. Is it really hard? Yeah. It's going to take a lot out of that motorcycle to go 60 miles an hour, especially for an extended period of time. And it's just not as conducive for doing a new rider to have less options, I will say, as far as needing an escape or needing to have a plan of action. It limits you on what you have as far as options go should somebody do something dumb. So if you're going to be around town less than 50 miles an hour for most of the bike's life, if you're a city dweller, 125 is an awesome place to start. And a lot of times they're actually more fun than say some of the bigger bikes, because they're a little bit smaller, they're a little bit lighter, so they're a little bit easier to kind of get around and get through the city. They turn a little quicker, but really a lot of that comes down to is they're not so damn heavy. And so a 125 in the city, good choice. Now if you live kind of like where I live, which I live about 40 miles outside of New Orleans, so to get where I work, I have to drive. I don't work downtown, I work outside the city as well, but I gotta drive about 12 miles on the highway. So at 125cc, while it could do that, it wouldn't be happy. It wouldn't be in its comfort zone, so to speak. The bike's not gonna like that. You're gonna be wringing its neck to keep up with cars on the highway. And if you needed to get out of somebody's way, your option is to either A, move or slow down. You don't have that where you can kind of speed up and get away from traffic a little bit. You're kind of stuck there with them. You need to slow down speeding. So that's kind of where the 125 falls short. Is it you just limited on being able to get on the highway with them? Now, they can do it, so you could essentially start on a 125 or a 300cc. But you're like me, you live in a part of town that's stupid flat, and you think you're gonna outgrow a 300cc fairly quickly. You think you're gonna be bored with it real soon, because River Road, just like here, is about the only sort of twisty you got. And even this is not that twisty. You could almost ride this with your hand behind your back. But it's better than just sitting on the highway. So that's kind of why. So now we're to the 600cc series. So the 600s, can you start on a 600cc motorcycle or even a little bit more, say 675, 700? Yeah, you probably can. I did. I started on one and here I am today, so I didn't die. Did I run into some problems that maybe I wouldn't have on a smaller bike? You betcha. One time that I remember the most, I should say, it's kind of like one of those things I'm not gonna forget, is, so I got my bike, right, and I had it for maybe 2 weeks, right, just enough to where I was kind of getting the feel of stuff, right. I could ride it and not be freaking out all the time. And a buddy of mine gets his bike, right? He's ridden a couple times, but he never had his own bike, but he's ridden, so he's got a little bit more experience than me. And we're doing stupid shit because now, instead of being by myself, I have an accomplice, right? So I've got somebody to speed with, and somebody who, I won't say that I want to impress, but somebody that's, I don't want to look like a dumbass or a pussy, you know. It's your buddy, you know. You want to be at his same skill level, right? And that right there will put you out of your comfort zone so fast. And that's exactly what happened to me. So we're driving, right, and he kind of gets on it. I want to keep up with him. Next thing I know, I'm looking at him and not looking ahead at the road because I want to see what he's doing, because this is awesome, right? And then I look up, or then I don't even look up. I notice that, oh shit, where the hell is he going? I look up, the light is red. I mean, like red. And I'm like barreling towards this intersection at twice, 3 times the speed limit maybe. Panic. Don't grab the front brake where 90% of your braking power comes from. I just panic, mashed the rear brake, fucking locked the rear tire up. And I stopped by a miracle. But I passed a white line, like almost into the intersection, so it was fucking terrifying. And that happened while I had weeks of experience, weeks, not months. You know, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, and I shouldn't have been going that fast. And that's what a 600cc bike will get you. It'll get you in trouble not because it's faster, but because you don't respect how fast it is and how fast you can be going in a relatively short period of time. So you got to be careful with them, man. Not that you don't have to be careful with a 300. You got to be careful on everything. But it's just, you have, I don't know, I would say less room for error on a 600cc bike than a 300cc or a 125. I had to make sure the police officer wasn't going to pull me over. Because we were speeding a little bit. Nothing crazy, but a little bit. So that's my only gripe about a 600cc. It's not the power, man. It's you. It's you as a... Can you handle it? So you have to tell yourself, when you get a 600cc, if that's your first bike, you know, you've got to tell yourself, this thing is fast, and it can do a whole lot more than I'm capable of. So on to the next topic. You know, we talked a little bit about what size engine you should get on your first bike. So now we need to talk about, and we talked a little bit about what you're going to do with the bike and how that affects what you're, you know, what you should be looking for as far as size goes. Now we need to talk about what you should be spending on a new bike. Should you buy brand new? Should you buy used? Should you buy something that needs some TLC? So we'll go in that order: new, used, needing TLC. So new bike, should you buy one? No. I would say, because you're going to take, especially if you get a brand new 125 or 300cc bike, and then you grow out of it in 6 months and you want something a little faster, feel like you can handle a little bit more, you're gonna take a punch in the face with depreciation. It's gonna suck. Even with the 300, even with the 600, you would do the same thing. You know, if you decided I want to get something different, you're still going to take that depreciation hit. Less likely on the 600 because you're not going to get bored with it, that's for sure. Nasty roads. But should you buy a slightly used bike? And when I say slightly used, I mean probably 5 years old, you know, 2012, maybe 2010, 7 years old, depending on the type of bike and who had it and how they took care of it. So there's a lot of factors that go into buying a used bike that you don't have to consider when you are buying a new one. So that could be a con for you. If you're not so worried about the depreciation, then maybe you do get a new bike. But if you can get a bike that's in good shape, that's 3 to 5 years old, you're going to save a lot of money on buying that thing. And you're not going to have to take that depreciation hit. And that's going to leave you some cash to buy gear, tires, gas, insurance, you know, and all those things add up. My recommendation is to do just that. Get yourself a bike that is 1 or 2 years old. It's got a few miles, but you can save a ton of money on it. And if you're patient enough, you can even save, you can get yourself a really good deal. But that leads us into, how old is too old? Well, too old is probably anything that's, I would say, you know, I would start looking real hard at a bike that's older than 7 years or so. You know, 10 years pushing it, man, that's old. You know, especially that bike probably had a couple owners. Who knew what the last two actually did to it? Did they service it? Did they do anything? Did they just ride the motherfucker? You know, you don't want to be spending all your time with the bike in the garage working on it. And you definitely don't want to go through learning how to ride a bike with a shitty front brake that doesn't feel right, but you don't know any better because you have never ridden before. Get yourself a bike that's a couple years old, is mechanically sound, that you're not worried too much about stuff going wrong. You got to do the regular maintenance shit, oil changes, stuff like that, maybe a tire, but you're not rebuilding forks, you're not adjusting valves and, you know, making sure the carb isn't fucked up, and, you know, so you want to be out riding the bike, and when you ride it, you want it to be reliable. You want it to know, you want to know that I'm going to be able to pull out right here, and this bitch isn't going to stall, and this fucking 18-wheeler is not going to wipe me the fuck out. You know, you got to be confident in the machine. And older bikes, man, they don't instill confidence sometimes. But so that's kind of my thoughts on it, man. Get something that is suited for what you need it to do. Something that you think you can handle. If you're real small, get something smaller. Get a 125, get a 300. Don't start on a 600. They're heavy, man. They're heavier than the 300 and the 125, you know. And I'm trying to make sure I didn't leave anything out, you know. Any little tidbits of wisdom I can give you. But yeah, just, you know, think it through. Don't just get on the next prettiest thing you can find. I mean, that works with girls, not so much motorcycles. They're real fun, but they will fuck you up.